we often get asked about small, affordable speakers to use for DJing, for DJ practice. And the M-Audio BX4s, which were released recently, are a speaker that kind of fits that little gap in the market. Something better than cheap speakers to use with your computer that you might be using now and want to upgrade to, but not anywhere near as expensive or as involved in setup and so on as proper studio monitors, if you like. They're a halfway house speaker. So the M-Audio BX4s have a primary and secondary speaker. The primary speaker has got all the electronics in it. It's the thing you plug in. It's got all the buttons and knobs that we're going to look at. The secondary speaker is just a speaker, a passive speaker in a box. And you have a lead that you plug between the two of them in order to give power to this one. And that is a different kind of setup to proper, if you like, studio monitor speakers, which have a separate power input each, and then you have to have a separate input for the audio to each. In other words, they're completely independent of each other. That kind of speaker is actually sold individually as well. You buy them one at a time and not in a pair normally. So these are, again, kind of halfway house. So let's have a look at them. They are a pretty lightweight. This one's lighter than that one because that one's got all the gubbins in it. Pretty lightweight speaker, but they're well made. They're made of MDF. They're a bass reflex speaker, which means they've got a port on the back, which lets the air move for your bass. You've got a 4.5-inch tweeter, a 4.5-inch woofer, a 1-inch tweeter on the front. The front also has, on the master speaker, a knob, which is the on-off and volume knob, and it's also got inputs for your headphones and an auxiliary. So you can plug in a wired input there for something like a phone or whatever, and also if you want to listen late at night and your setup's all there, you can just plug your headphones in there and the speakers will turn off and they will play through your headphones. Worth noting that when you plug something into the auxiliary input there, whatever else you've got plugged in around the back, which we're going to look at in a second, will turn off, so you can't have the two things playing together. So in a typical setup then, let's just put these down like this and I'll show you how you'll set them up. In a typical setup, you're going to have a DJ controller of some kind, and you're going to want to plug this in. So you're probably going to end up plugging your DJ controller either into the balanced inputs, if it's got a balanced output, and so they are balanced TRS 1/4-inch inputs, or into the unbalanced input here. So one nice thing about this is if you had a computer, you could plug your computer into the unbalanced input, and they actually provide a RCA lead to 1/8-inch stereo with the speakers. So you could plug that into your computer and then use a balanced input for your controller and have the computer and controller both plugged in at the same time. Maybe you've got a desk with a desktop computer that you sometimes listen to music through, and also you've got a DJ controller that you want to plug in as well. So they could both be plugged in and left plugged in forever that way. Now the other lead that I showed you, pretty cheap really. It's a mono 1/8-inch jack that goes into the back of here. It's about 6 foot long. So if you want your speakers further apart than this, you're gonna have to buy another one. And it's a basic cheapo cable really to connect the two of them together there, and then they're both going to work fine. Now around the back of this speaker, we've got a few other bits and pieces. So we've got a high frequency, which will cut to 6 decibels lower and 6 decibels higher adjustment, and a low frequency, 6 decibels lower, 6 decibels higher adjustment. These aren't designed for you to, be using them all the time to EQ your DJ mixes and stuff. They're not the same as the EQs you find on DJ controllers by any means, but they're there to, if your room always sounds a bit bassy, or you prefer a bit more treble or whatever, you can set it all on these high and low controls, kind of set and forget. But it's good to have them there. Some speakers just have, most speakers have them nowadays, but some speakers just have a little switch, which will switch between kind of like 0 and a little bit higher or a little bit lower. It's nice to see these being actual knobs, so you can adjust it a bit with a bit more granularity there. There's also something I like, and I'm sure it is on other speakers, but I can't remember seeing it before, an active speaker position switch, right or left. So this means that if you're setting these up in your room and the power socket is that side, so you want to put the primary speaker on this side, then you can say, okay, so this side, as you're facing me, this side is the left-hand speaker. So you set that switch to left. Now, of course, if it's the other way around, then you can set that switch to right, and it'll still have the stereo pair, the left signal coming out the left speaker and the right signal coming out the right speaker, which I thought was a nice addition. So the sound quality of these is great. The bass is good, not earth-shatteringly low, of course, but it's good. The trebles are nice and clear. The mid-range is a bit muted. Some people will like that. It's a nice, comfortable sound. They're not meant to be used as studio monitors, so they're not completely flat frequency response or anything like that, but you could make beats on them and stuff. I think they'd be okay for that. I did I did think though that because they're a speaker designed for use in this kind of place where you're probably going to be using them for streaming Spotify, for doing your DJ, for listening to your computer through, for plugging your phone in every now and then, I thought it would be nice if they had Bluetooth as well. A little Bluetooth switcher on the front so you could just tap that switch, pair it to your phone and listen to music that way. Especially because phones and stuff nowadays don't really have a headphone socket on them. They do provide them with an 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch stereo jack that can plug in there, but nowadays there's not much you can plug the other end into because everything's going Bluetooth and wireless, right? I thought that would have been a nice thing to include on these speakers, some Bluetooth. The overall shielding, because often these speakers can be, this kind of speakers can hum because they're very near to computer gear and they can hum away and there's just a bit of background noise and it can get really annoying. I found that there was no background noise at all. Now that's completely unscientific. Your results might differ, but even if you turn them up nice and loud, no background noise, no hum, no buzz, nice and clean, even with the provided cables. Now talking about volume, they are advertised as 150 watt speakers, and that number is just front of box of rubbish with speaker manufacturers. They're really 25 watt speakers. 25 watts across these two speakers is plenty of volume for a small room, which is what they're designed to do. However, they're going to be no good for a party. Don't even try to use these speakers at a party. They're not designed for it. They're going to sound rubbish at high volume, and also they've got no protection over the front, so you're going to damage them. You know what parties are like. Just don't do it. But for your bedroom, for your home studio where you're just messing around with making music and not taking it too seriously, certainly for DJing practice, as a general speaker to replace the speakers that come with your computer, that you maybe have been using with your computer for ages, or God forbid you're still using the speakers built into your computer. They're a huge step up from those and reasonably well priced for what they are as well. So that's the M-Audio BX4 speakers. If you've enjoyed this review, please do hit that share button. Please do follow the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this, and click the bell icon if you want us to notify you when we add more videos like this. Big more from me, Phil, here at Digital DJ Tips. Get good, get out there, make the moments, and I'll see you again very soon.